The following is an accurate reenactment of when Tensa was told he would have to finally review the film Seed of Chucky.
No! No! You tell me that's not true. That's not true. No! Just throw it all away, you know. No! Oh, God! Oh, God! Oh!
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my look at the Child's Play franchise. Today, Chucky and Tiffany become parents in Seed of Chucky. Bride was met with negativity from the critics, deemed a tiresome self-parody with no scares, but the fans were more positive about the direction their favorite killer doll had taken, along with his new partner. The film grossed $32 million domestically, and with that success, Son of Chucky began production 2 days after Bride was released. Don Mancini, being an openly gay man, wanted to delve into LGBT themes with the next entry and wrote a screenplay that was inspired by a 1953 film, Glenn or Glenda. Nothing like getting inspiration from an Ed Wood film that has been regarded as being one of the worst films ever made. Mancini wanted Chucky's son to turn out to be a pacifist suffering from gender identity disorder. The tone would be heavily comedic since Mancini felt that icons like Jason, Michael, and Freddy had become less scary over time. Universal expected a straightforward slasher flick with Chucky's son being a murderer too, so they rejected his script. It wasn't until years later that production resumed after Focus Features accepted the script to be released through Rogue Pictures. The final result would essentially be what Mancini wrote years prior, and after writing every entry thus far, he was finally given the opportunity to direct. Seed takes place 6 years after Bride, with Chucky and Tiffany's son finding and resurrecting them in Hollywood. They get the idea to transfer their souls into famous celebrities, including Jennifer Tilly. Yes, Tilly, who played Tiffany, is here playing herself, too. You see? 'Cause that's meta and self-referential, not just a way to cram Tilly back into a human role.
Oh, I get it. It's very clever.
Thank you.
How's that working out for you? What? Being clever?
Brad Dourif, of course, returned as Chucky, but his child Glenn was voiced by British actor Billy Boyd, who was well known for his role in the Lord of the Rings film as Pippin. So, how would all this turn out? Let's grab a bottle of vodka and take a look. So right off the fucking bat, the opening credits display the inner production of the child. We all took sex ed in high school, so we didn't need any of this. Cut to the POV of the doll being opened by a little British girl who comments on how disgusting it looks. That night, the doll sneaks out of the toy chest and creepily roams the house until he's caught by the father.
Just because it's your birthday, that doesn't mean that you can relinquish all your...
He then sneaks in on the mother taking a shower, but she manages to get herself killed after slipping out and cracking her head on the floor. He goes to kill the little girl, but she begins to berate him for having an accident.
You're pissing your pants! You're pissing your pants!
Oh, Jesus, tap dancing Christ. What's wrong with your face? Oh, I am not a fan of the son's design. I know he's Chucky's offspring, so I shouldn't expect anything, but those sunken eyes, pale skin, and shark teeth just look hideous. Is he a doll or a zombie? I can admit that I kinda like the POV stalk and kill dream since it's a little creepy, but it all comes crumbling down the moment he wakes up. We see the child is in England as part of a ventriloquist act with his name being Shitface. Yeah, that sums him up well. His owner claims to have found him in a cemetery in America and brought him back over. Shitface here is completely innocent, well aware that he's an orphan, a freak, and Japanese? I'll get back to that. He's plagued by nightmares of violence even though he wouldn't even harm a fly. He often wonders what his parents were like as we fade to a snowy cemetery where a guy dressed as Santa doesn't realize he's carrying some extra cargo with Chucky and Tiffany.
I knew it! You're not real.
But it's all just the set of a movie being made titled Chucky Goes Psycho, based on the urban legend of the Chucky doll murders. If you haven't caught on yet, there have already been a few references to Hitchcock's Psycho. Thank you for throwing in nods to a movie I'd rather be watching right now. Jennifer Tilly is on set, but upset that her career has gone from being Oscar nominated to fucking a puppet. Her assistant, Joan, tells her about a role that's up for grabs as the Virgin Mary in the next big Bible epic directed by rapper Redman. Why? Oh yeah, cause Passion of the Christ was the big thing back in 2004. But who in their right mind would think Redman could direct a powerhouse as big as that? Is that the joke?
Oh, I get it. It's very clever.
Back to Shitface, he sees an episode of Access Hollywood interviewing Chucky and Tiffany, but notices the Made in Japan on Chucky's wrist and realizes his parents are alive. He manages to escape his owner through a horrific CGI running shot and gets a flight all the way to Hollywood. Meanwhile, Tilly is having a script read with Redman, but he decides that she's not quite right for the role. Determined to snag the part, she invites him over to her place that night for dinner to persuade him otherwise. Shitface was able to make it to the props department and locate his parents. He shows them that he still has the necklace they left him and wakes them up by reading the Damballa chant on the back. The two rise up, but are startled at the sight of Shitface.
It looks like the kid fell off the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down. I mean, you gotta feel bad for the parents. I wonder what they must look like.
He shows them that he has the Made in Japan mark, and suddenly the two realize they're his parents. I don't like this. It's quite obvious that the Chucky doll that made it with Tiffany was made in America since it was the Play Pals factory. So throwing in this whole Glenn thinks he's Japanese because of the mark on his wrist makes no sense and is just dumb. It's not even that funny. Anyways, they're informed they're on a movie set and get back to work quickly as puppeteer Tony Gardner, playing himself, arrives to do maintenance on the dolls.
It's up.
Chucky and Tiffany share a passionate kiss after the decapitation, but notice Shitface is pissing their pants. Tiffany claims she just had an accident, while Chucky thinks he had an accident.
Don't look at me.
I don't know what the that was.
They decide to call them Glenn/Glenda. I'm gonna call them Glenn. Tilly shows up looking for a candy bar she hid and ends up making out with the head of Tony, thinking it was a prop. She's mobbed by paparazzi as she exits, but her driver, Stan, who is in love with her, is there to pick her up while Chucky, Tiffany, and Glenn sneak in the back of the limo. Tiffany explains that her plan is to transfer her soul into Tilly, while Chucky will transfer his into Redman's. But what of Glenn?
I'm not getting pregnant again, I'll tell you that much. My mother always told me, once is a blessing, twice is a curse.
Well, that would explain your sister.
Tiffany hints that they're gonna need a surrogate mother. At Tilly's house, the family hides in the attic, but Glenn confronts his parents on why they kill.
Well, it's a hobby, really. It helps us relax.
Glenn wants them to stop, and while Tiffany agrees, Chucky, of course, opposes. Downstairs, as Redman shows up, Tilly fires Joan after she's confronted with the way she's going about getting a movie role. Tiffany puts her plan into action as she gives Chucky a cup and instructions on how to act fast for artificial insemination. What in the actual fuck is happening? A paparazzi from earlier, Pete Peters, how long did it take you to come up with that name, sneaks onto Tilly's property and catches Chucky doing the deed upstairs. Just kill me. While also spotting Tiffany hitting Redman over the head to knock him out. Tiffany actually talks to Tilly about how she has no self-respect, only to also club her over the head. She prepares for the insemination, but Chucky takes his son out for a boys' night out of hunting.
I can't see anything. Maybe we should slow down?
No, you're doing great.
Remember this joke from Bride that was actually funny?
All right, let's go.
Oh, sure. I'll steer and you can work the pedals. We're dolls, you dope!
Chucky knew back then that the idea was ridiculous. So why would it not be now? A car driven by Britney Spears, good lord, cuts them off and Chucky uses his road rage to run her off the road.
Oops, I did it again.
It's very clever.
They somehow make it to Peter's photo lab at the moment he realizes the picture he took at Tilly's house was of Chucky. When Chucky goes in for the kill, Glenn tries to stop him but accidentally gets Peters killed after bumping into sulfuric acid.
Say cheese.
The next morning, Tilly and Redman wake up after having little to no memory of what took place the previous night. Meanwhile, Tiffany is trying to get over her killing addiction through the 12-step program, but skips right to number 9 to apologize to Mrs. Bailey, the wife of the officer she killed.
My name is Tiffany Ray. You don't know me, but a few years ago I killed your husband And I am so very, very sorry.
It's kind of funny. But that night, when Tilly reveals to Redman she's pregnant, he tells her he can't be the father and she can't be in his movie because he needs someone who is gonna be hot. This pisses off Tiffany, who allows herself to have a little slip after talking to an addiction help hotline. The following morning, Tiffany informs Chucky that Tilly's under a voodoo pregnancy that's accelerated.
How accelerated?
Tilly calls Joan to apologize, but Tiffany gets on the line too, so hijinks ensue because they sound the same. Chucky attacks and restrains Tilly, but Tiffany freaks out when she finds the photo of Chucky and Glenn with Peter's dead body. They argue over the killing situation and Glenn's gender.
I want a girl!
I want a boy!
You're tearing me apart!
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Glenn expresses that he wants a say in the matter of either becoming a boy or a girl, but certainly does not want to become a killer. Chucky flips out, saying he's proud to be a killer even if they aren't, but discovers Tiffany is also at fault when Redman's dead body falls out of the closet. To get Chucky a new body, they call over her driver Stan and tie him up. Joan shows up to check on Tilly, so Chucky volunteers to take her out. But right before he can get to her,
Dang.
it looks like Tiffany is distraught over what she had to do, so Chucky tries to comfort her.
Tiff? Glenn?
Guess again, Daddy.
So yeah, the peaceful side is Glenn, the violent side is Glenda. Chucky even admits defeat in wanting a boy since he can get his killer in Glenda, but Tiffany slaps her back into Glenn. Tilly then gives birth to a boy, but there's another one on the way with a girl, so Glenn/Glenda can make the choice at what they want to be. However, the police show up, then Tilly's screaming along with Tiffany and Glenda, and the babies are crying. Chucky has had enough.
That's it! There is a limit to how much I can take. Look around you, Tiff. This is nuts. And I have a very high tolerance for nuts.
My sentiments exactly. Chucky goes on to giving a fairly badass speech about not wanting to be a human anymore thanks to his notorious history of being a slasher. He has everything he would need in a wife and kid, but Tiffany completely disagrees and says she's leaving him and taking the kid. In a fit of rage, Chucky kills Stan but then gets stabbed by Tiffany. The police walk in on Tilly tied up screaming with 2 babies and multiple dead bodies. She's taken to the hospital to recover, but Tiffany manages to drug her to make her weak. With the heart of Dumbala, she attempts to transfer her soul, but someone's not having it.
I can't think of a thing to say. Fuck it.
Haha, another reference to a movie I'd much rather be watching. Tiffany says the champ, but suddenly takes an axe to the head from Chucky. She says her goodbyes to Glenn, asking him to not make the same mistake she and his father made. Glenn challenges Chucky to a fight that includes some god-awful CGI green screen and ends with Glenn hacking his father apart.
Atta boy, kid. Atta boy.
Tilly comforts the child, but it fades to 5 years later. Tilly is throwing a birthday party for her children, but her maid, Volvia, is in her ear about how Glenn is an angel to take care of, but Glenda is downright evil. She wants to leave her position, and Tilly lets her go. So Tiffany was successful in swapping bodies. Not sure who was talking to Glenn in the hospital then when she took the axe to the face and oh fuck it, it's almost over. Glenn, now a human boy, feels better about what his life has turned into and reminisces about the time he spent with his father. He receives an unmarked birthday present and opens it up. Thank God. My overall thoughts on Seed of Chucky. It fucking sucks. I literally cannot stand this entry. It is far too gone from what it used to be. Child's Play 2 was able to correctly up the ante and be insane in terms of Chucky. Bride used humor in the right way to make it fun. Seed is too fucking bizarre and incredibly unfunny even though it wants to be. It misses the mark entirely in comedy and horror. They try to be meta with Jennifer Tilly playing herself on the set of a movie about Chucky, but it's just boring. They make the same jokes repeatedly, some of them incredibly outdated, about Tilly being overweight, her career not being that great, and doing whatever it takes to get roles. We get it. Tilly can joke about herself. I don't care. Her character boils down to being joke after joke at her expense and screaming throughout the movie. The relationships that are attempted with her and Redman plus her driver Stan add up to nothing. Truth be told, besides LL Cool J and Halloween H2O, I don't care to have rappers in a horror movie. They aren't actors, so their performances are rarely genuine, so Redman just doesn't fit in here. And Stan, the limo driver, is just there. They make him infatuated with Tilly, but it amounts to him getting a knife in the chest before he can admit his love. Like, cool, that was a waste. I think Tilly does better as Tiffany, but her personality feels weirdly different from Bride. She does have some decently funny lines, but she just seems like a slightly different person. Almost as though she's running the show and doesn't care what anyone says. And I'll be honest, I really don't care for the whole Glenda plot point. Let it be known that I have no issues with those struggling with gender identity or anything relating to that. But personally, I don't believe it has any business being in a Chucky movie. Just have Glenn dealing with a murderous bloodline despite being someone who doesn't want to be a killer. Let's see more of him dealing with what his parents want him to be, a murderer, and rebelling against them. That way you can still have Tiffany trying to be a good parent and quit while Chucky refuses and tries to show him killing is fun. While that is there, to pile on the is he a boy or girl is extreme overkill. It's not needed in a movie about a family of killer dolls. I understand it's something Mancini personally wanted to explore, but I wish he had gone down a different route that would have averted us having to see Chucky whacking off to impregnate Jennifer Tilly. Chucky is legitimately the only thing I like in this movie. His best moment is near the end though, where he gives that speech about wanting to stay a doll over becoming a human. The goal he's had for 5 movies is shattered simply because he knows that his life has been better since becoming a doll. He's been allowed to get away with what he loves doing best, becoming an infamous slasher, getting a wife and multi-talented kid. It was as though he was speaking for the audience in that moment of, holy shit, look around you, this is nuts, and I don't like it. This whole moment and realization is the only thing to come out of this movie that I liked. That, and like I said in the beginning, I kinda like the opening POV of Glenn killing the British family. Speaking of, the kills are perhaps some of the bloodiest in the series. The puppeteer getting decapitated, Redman getting gutted, and Peters having his face melted are crazy. Are they creative? Sort of. But they lack the weird charms the kills from previous entries had. They just seem a little mean-spirited, which is an odd thing to point out about doll murders, but that's how they feel to me. The cinematography has always felt off here. A lot of it is almost too bright, and there's usage of some bad CGI and green screens. Some of the scenery shots, especially Tilly's home, look fake, and boy, you can tell when the dolls weren't practical. Shots of them walking look bad at times, and Glenn running and flipping in the air are embarrassing. I saw this movie in theaters when it came out in 2004, and I sadly liked it because that was right around the time I got over my fear of Chucky and was obsessed with him. 17 years later, I can admit that I was an idiot. While introducing Tiffany in Bride was a breath of fresh air, bringing in Glenn/Glenda was a complete misfire. What more can I say? I will never watch this movie again. I genuinely hate it. The story is too out in left field. I don't care for any of the characters minus Chucky. The comedy falls flat 99% of the time. It's honestly pretty gross, and the opportunity to make a new fun character was squandered. I give C to Chucky half a middle finger out of 5. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think this entry is better than I'm giving it credit for? Or is it really the worst in the franchise? How do you feel about Glenn/Glenda? And what was your favorite kill? Don't forget to subscribe and follow my Twitter and Instagram. Links to those are in the description. Next week, the bad taste actually gets washed out with Curse of Chucky. Until next time, peace.